Connected by now. Oh, okay, so it's on. All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everyone. Good evening from Lagos, Nigeria. It's good to be here again to have conversations. I've missed live streams actually preparing for my event here in Lagos. So I'm back again with another conversation and live stream with someone who is amazing, someone who is great, someone who's going to be sharing something that is now is the season. The airports are bubbling with all sorts of movements. I mean, they say there's no money in this nation, but go to the airport, you don't even find somewhere to park. I mean, people are migrating, moving back and forth, and a lot of people are also leaving Nigeria. Okay, so it's a great thing. People who say that everyone has the right and liberty to live anywhere he wishes to live as a human being. But there are certain things to be noted when you want to migrate to other countries. Today, we are going to be looking at taxes and foreign immigrants. I mean, this is for those who want to jump back from Nigeria. There are certain things that you need to pay attention to. One thing that I've seen my friends do, like over here in Nigeria, you have something that is bad in your house, maybe a socket or a broken pipe or something. I mean, you just call someone who can just come in and repair it, and then you pay the individual. But I'm seeing my friends now over there. They have become plumbers by themselves. They repair stuff by themselves. They have learned woodwork. They are doing they're doing all sorts of things because I kind of ask them, why are you? I mean, when you're in Nigeria, we're not doing this. It's like, over here now, for someone to repair something, you're calling $200, $300. Like, these guys are big boys over there. I mean, a carpenter is a big boy. I said, okay, that's great. So it means that every nation of the world has its own peculiarities, right? Taxes and taxation. Over here, apart from the big companies, many other people don't really take taxes as very important. But over there, I know there's a different ball game. Evading taxes can be a crime that can land you back into the plane and back bundle you back to wherever you're coming from. So today we're going to be looking at this conversation: taxes and foreign immigrants. For those who want to Japan, those who want to leave Nigeria, those who want to leave anywhere, wherever, any African country that you want to be in, to go to places like Canada and the US and all the westernized countries, so to say. I'll look at them. So today, I have Dr. Ayodele is going to be taking a look at this for the next 30 to 45 minutes, issues regarding to taxes, and for those who are interested in leaving Nigeria and traveling abroad. So welcome, everybody. If you're tuning in right now, if you've got friends who are about to travel, those who want to leave the nation, want to leave Nigeria and travel, the two is here to share his thoughts and his expertise on taxes and foreign immigrants, those who want to immigrate, those who want to leave Nigeria and go to places like Canada and the US. So invite your friends. Let's know where you are tuning in from in the comment section. We'll say hello to you while you listen to this great conversation. Dotun, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Emeka, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Having been watching you do your thing for the last, year and a half since I connected with you on Facebook.
Thank you.
It's an opportunity to be able to have this chat.
Thank you.
By way of background, my name is Ayomido Tonyodele Bamishai. I shorten it so that people don't have headaches.
Yeah.
But if I'm talking to my people, I can afford to break it down.
Yeah.
Though I trained as an engineer from the University of Ibadan, industrial and production engineering. I haven't had the pleasure of practicing as an engineer. I've been an accountant my entire career. Started with PricewaterhouseCoopers back in 2005, and I was an auditor there till I left Nigeria in 2013. So I've been in Canada for about 10 years. Designated in Nigeria, designated in Canada, and then sometime in 2016, it occurred to me that everybody in Canada needs an accountant. Unlike Nigeria, where nobody cares about, you don't look for an accountant until maybe I don't know when you start looking for an accountant in Nigeria. Here, everybody needs an accountant because of the singular fact that there's nothing more certain than death and taxes in this part of the world. In Nigeria, death is certain. Everybody's going to die. Yes. Taxes, nobody really cares because it's not everybody's problem. It's a problem for big corporations. Here, everybody from the age of 18 is required to file a tax return. What I tell my clients and my friends is this: if you don't know your tax bill before the year is out, you're already paying too much. Period. And the only way that can happen is if you have a plan, right? Um, haven't been here, haven't been working with individuals, small businesses, larger corporations, preparing tax returns, filing tax returns, planning for tax returns. It dawned on me that there's just a lot of information that's available. There's a lot of knowledge that we have that people are not tapping into, and because they are not tapping into it, they are making mistakes that are avoidable, right? And they are putting themselves in circumstances that they necessarily do not have to deal with. So the essence of this conversation basically this evening is to draw attention to the fact that as a Nigerian, either looking to immigrate or having partially immigrated, yes, I'm speaking to you. You left madam and the children abroad, and you are going and coming maybe twice a year, thrice a year, or even if it's every month that you travel. By that single action, you create for yourself potential additional tax responsibilities, which if you are not aware of, will catch up with you, and it can be pretty painful. And if you are aware, then it puts you in a position where you can start to think about it and plan for it and work towards implementing a solution that works. But before we start talking about solutions, the first thing that you need is knowledge. You need knowledge. You need to know what your situation is. You need to know whether you have an obligation. You need to know when the obligation starts. So, for example, in Canada, taxation is based on residency. So whether you're a citizen of Canada or not is irrelevant. What is relevant is, do you live in Canada or do you have ties to Canada? Are you considered to be benefiting from the largesse of the Canadian people, i.e., the value that has been created by Canadian taxes? Or are you somebody who just holds a blue passport and you live elsewhere and you do your stuff elsewhere? So that's the basis of taxation in Canada. Whereas the US is a totally different ball game. As long as you hold an American passport, irrespective of where you earn your money from, irrespective of where you live, where you reside, where you call your primary home, the place where your bed is that you sleep every night, irrespective of where that is, as long as you're an American citizen, you are liable to pay taxes to the US government. That's not the case with Canada. So the UK, Australia, they have their own rules as well. So the question is, yes, you are looking to immigrate. Are you thinking about the potential liability that may arise as a result of your choice? Where your choice may be, I'm jack buying, I'm not coming back, nobody's going to see me. Or your choice is, oh, I'm going to go and come back every couple months, all right? Or your choice is, oh, I'm going to go drop my family there, and then I'll visit them every 6 months, 3 months, year, as the case may be. Or I'm going to go drop my family there, and then I'll come back and tidy things out for the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and then I'll go and join them finally. Whichever one of those decisions you make, whichever one of those choices you take would have an implication for you. Now, if you are not aware of that implication, that is a first problem. That's the very first problem. And being able to bring that into your consciousness is really why I'm here today. So I speak as somebody who has practiced as an accountant over probably about 20 years now, but particularly specifically in Canada and in the area of taxation over the last 6-7 years thereabouts. I've seen all sorts of personal tax returns, addressed all sorts of issues with the tax authorities. But the common pitfall that I see our people fall into is this total lack of awareness that, oh, you know what exactly is required based on your situation? Can you tell me? I don't know. That scares me. And the reason it scares me is because lots of people come into the country and they're trying to settle down. Say, for example, the typical case, you have a good job in Nigeria, you're comfortable in Nigeria, you really don't want to leave, but you know that you want to give your children that option. So because of that, you send your spouse, typically madam, and the children, and they come to Canada. Maybe they come in on a provincial nomination and they're somewhere in Manitoba or Saskatchewan, or even Alberta or Ontario, right? They're in London, Ontario, for example. And you come, twice a year or once a year because you are able to pay the bills from the money you earn in Nigeria. The fact is that situation, because your family makes their primary home in Canada, that situation definitely exposes you to Canadian tax, whether you come once a year or even if you don't come at all, because their presence in Canada is a primary tie. That's the way it works. Now, if you don't know that, you'd assume that, oh yeah, I've paid my taxes in Nigeria, big deal. Let me just go to Canada and go and spend Christmas with my family. But suddenly you get a letter in the mail that, hey, you know what? We can see your family is here. And either you filed your tax returns or you haven't because you're like, oh, I have no obligation. But you do. You do. You have an obligation. So it becomes important that we understand that irrespective of where we earn from, irrespective of how we earn our money, as immigrants looking to locate ourselves in new climes, in new countries, it becomes important for us to understand how taxation works there. The entirety of the West, the entirety of the Western world is financed by tax revenue. Tax revenue is the primary source of income for government. And when tax revenue isn't properly collected, then there isn't anything to share. The money that's available is what funds the healthcare. It's what funds the good roads. It's what funds telecommunication, critical facilities, like they call them, electrification, policing, and law enforcement, the judicial system. All those things are funded by tax dollars. So tax collection is serious business, and the governments here do not play. So you want to first know, what exactly are my responsibilities as an immigrant in these countries? You're asking yourself, when am I captured by the tax net? It's one thing to have a permanent resident status in Canada. It's another thing to be considered a resident for tax purposes. So the question you need to answer is, when does all this stuff apply to me? When does it become necessary for me to be aware, right? And my answer to you is this: if you are thinking about it, then take a look at it. If you're asking yourself when, then find out precisely when. Because the differentiator is the fact that you will get enough notice. You will be notified over and over again. But probably because you're not in the country often enough, you don't get those notices. Where you do not want to be is a position where suddenly you are served a demand to pay and you are not aware. Like Emeka hinted briefly, tax evasion may not be a crime. It is a crime. You can plan your taxes, you can avoid taxes, which is a lesser offense, but evading taxes is considered a criminal offense. And it is frowned upon, and the consequences are severe. They may not be swift, but when they come, they are severe. So I think I'll just spend the next 10-20 minutes speaking to the specifics of the Canadian tax situation, because that's what I know. That's what I practice on a daily basis. Just for us to be aware. And if you have any questions, you can pop them in there, so that when we're back in the last 20 minutes of the conversation, I can answer them. Now, key things that we need to be aware of. Number one, the fact that you are a permanent resident for immigration's purposes does not make you a permanent resident for tax purposes as far as Canada is concerned. They are two different things. It is important that you understand what makes you a permanent resident for tax purposes. For immigration purposes, is that you hold that card. Once you have that card, you're considered a permanent resident for immigration purposes. For tax purposes, there are criteria and rules. There are conditions that must be fulfilled before you are considered to have been captured by the tax net. One of them is that you make your primary home here. Another one is that your spouse and children makes their primary home here. Whether you come here or not is irrelevant. As long as your spouse makes their primary home here, or your spouse and children make their primary home here, you are considered to be a resident for tax purposes. Another interesting thing that I want us to be aware of is the fact that Canada does not tax Canadian sourced income when you are a permanent resident for tax purposes. Canada wants to tax your worldwide income. Let that sink in. I repeat, as a Canadian permanent resident, you are not a citizen. You are just a permanent resident, and you are considered a resident for tax purposes, right? The government of Canada believes that your entire income worldwide should be taxed here. So whether you're making money in Nigeria, or you're making money in the UAE, or you're making money in the United States, or you're making money in Australia, the government says, the Canadian government says, we want to see all of it, the whole shebang, because we want our share, because you are benefiting from our systems. That's something that we need to be aware of. So now the relief there is this. If you happen to be earning income in a country that Canada has treaties with, that treaty would protect you to an extent from double taxation. Let me explain how that works. So say, for example, you work in Nigeria. Nigeria has a tax treaty with Canada, and you make all this money in Nigeria. Personal tax rates in Nigeria are somewhere around, I think it's 24%. That's the highest band there. Canadian tax rate at the highest bands are closer to 48%. So the government of Canada will say, hey, we see you've paid 24% of your income as taxes in Nigeria. However, because you are a Canadian permanent resident, we will assume, or rather, that entire money, that entire income will be taxed in Canada as if you earned it in Canada. Now, we will give you a credit for the 24% that you have paid to Nigeria, but the other 24%, or whatever the incremental is between your band and what you paid in Nigeria is concerned, you will get a demand to pay those taxes in Canada when you file your tax returns. Now, another thing I want us to be aware of is the fact that unlike Nigeria, where it's just a deduction, PAYE, You pay as you earn. Your employer takes the money and pays the government, and that's where it stops. In Canada, you are required, once you hit the age of 18, you are required to file a tax return every year, whether you make money or not. And what does that do? That tax return allows the government to be able to support you when you are low income, but it's a double-edged sword. It also allows them to be able to come after you when you are making a lot of money. So as a young 18-year-old, you're still in college, you're not earning any income, you're filing your tax returns, and the government is saying, oh, you're low income, here are the benefits. Here is GST credit for all the GSTs you've paid out. Here is climate action incentive. Here is this, here is that, and you're getting all this money, and it's fantastic. The day you get your first check, at the end of that year, you file your tax return and say, oh, I earned X $1,000. The government says, oh, sorry, you no longer qualify for all that money that you got last year. So we will take the money that is due on the income you've earned this year, and the coming year, you will not get any of that support anymore. Why? Because you're now a big boy making money. So those are some of the differences that we need to be aware of when it comes to taxes in the Western world. So like I was saying, you will self-report in your interest. You will self-report the income that you've earned. You will self-report the taxes that you've paid. And then you will self-report if you have a tax bill to settle, or if you have a refund that should come to you from the government. And these are the reasons why tax planning becomes advisable. In fact, it's not just advisable, it becomes necessary. So every year, the expectation is you are going to work, whether for yourself or for somebody else. You are going to earn money. When you earn that money, there will be taxes to pay. Now, the taxes may be deducted at source by your employer, or you may be the one who has to pay that tax bill after determining what the number is at the end of the year. Like every good businessman, the government of Canada does not expect you to owe them for too long. So every year you are expected to say, hey, how much am I going to pay in taxes at the end of the year? If it is more than a certain threshold, you're expected to begin to make advance payments. You're expected to pay in advance. Now, there's no way you would know any of this if you are not thinking about it. So the reason why I'm here this evening is to say to you, hey, my dear Jakparian, don't just Jakpa. Think about the implications of Jakpa. And one of the biggest headaches that Jakparians have is taxes. And that's why I'm here. So I may not be able to answer every single question this night, but there'll be opportunity for us to get answers as we make progress and as we share the information that we have available to us. Now, one beautiful thing about taxation in this part of the world is that it is not a whatever has entered does not come out situation. That's one of the best things about taxation, because everybody's saying, hey, you know what? My employer has taken this money and my employer has taken that money, and I'm not seeing any of the money I'm working for. But if you sit down and you look at your situation and plan very well, sometime between March, April, and May, you may find a very nice check in the mail that makes you happy. Some of that money that your employer took in advance gets returned to you. But that will only happen if you have a plan for it. So take note, I've been talking since I keep saying plan, be aware, plan, be aware, think about it, plan, be aware. The reason is this: if you do not have a plan, you will not know the right actions to take. You will not, the difference between you paying a significant tax bill and you getting some of that money that your employer has taken back is you sitting down and saying, how much am I earning? What are the requirements? and then you take necessary action. If you don't do things that way, you will always overpay. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. So the refund is something that people are always anticipating. And when you get it the first time, the next year, you're like, oh yeah, I need to plan for it. Fantastic. Now I have your attention. Plan. And as long as you are planning for your taxes, you are in shape. You are saving money. You're able to improve your financial situation. But if you're not planning for it, if you're not thinking about it, if you're not working towards it, you'll always find yourself in that position where you're complaining perpetually about taxation. But there's nothing you can do about it. Two things are certain: death and taxes. And because of that certainty, right, there's a need for us to plan. Now, I wanted to speak to some details of taxation, but I will say let's wait for the questions to come. The more important thing is the awareness. The fact that you can earn income from different ways. For example, Emeka is an entrepreneur. He's teaching us all how to sell, drawing attention to the need for you to sell. Because the more you sell, the more money you make, the more your business grows. And that's fantastic. That's one way to earn income, business for yourself. Another way to earn income, the one that we all know, get a job, get paid, period. You can own property. Emeka is an author. He has books. Those books are property. He earns income on that every year. That is also income. And then, of course, the typical one. You buy something, you sell it for more than you bought it for. That's income. The government says, hey, you have these 4 buckets of income and we want our share of every single dimension. So it's not just about employment income anymore. It's about everything that you do on the side, the whole 9 yards. And because of the connectivity of the system, sometimes you may feel like, oh, I can do this and it really doesn't matter. Think about it well. Because the truth is this: the things that we love most about the system, I'm sorry I'm laughing, but the things that we love most about the systems are the same things that can come around and plague us, and bite us when they work. So, for example, you're talking about the banking system and how everything is connected and you can make transfers and all that and all that and all that. But the banking system is reporting on a steady to law enforcement. All transactions above $10,000 are reported into a system on a daily basis. So because of these things, it becomes necessary for you to say, okay, how am I conducting my affairs? As my people will say, if you do anyhow, you see anyhow. You don't want to see anyhow, so you don't do anyhow. As people who are looking to, settle or integrate or have your family settle, it becomes necessary to say, how does it work? Right? The same way people will come around and be like, oh, I'm newly landed. How do you, as an IT professional, how do you navigate the environment? As you are trying to professionally navigate the environment, you also need to be saying, as a permanent resident, how do I navigate the environment from a tax perspective? Because if you don't ask that question early, you will eventually have to answer it. And you don't want to answer it, when time has passed and the opportunity to take advantage or the opportunity to create benefit for yourself has been lost. Now, the key levers, everybody earns money the same way. 4 buckets: employment income, business income, property income, capital gains and losses. Those are the 4 buckets. Everything you can do falls into one of those 4 buckets. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is, what are the opportunities available to you that you are using? God bless Canada. Childcare, for example. If you have young kids and your kids, you need to hire somebody to take care of them so that you can either go to school or go to work. That's something that the government gives you a break on and says, okay, we'll give you some of that money back. That's just one thing. There are a whole slew of things like that. Long list, laundry list. If you don't know what applies to you, you can't make the claim, much less get the benefit. So the first thing is you have to know. And I'm laughing because I keep saying the same thing. You have to plan. You have to be aware. You have to know. You have to plan. You have to be aware. You have to know. And that's just the way it works. Because if you try to ostrich it, stick your head in the sand and pretend that it doesn't exist, it may be 2 years, it may be 3, it may even be 5 before it comes back at you. But the problem is that the longer it takes, the rougher it gets. So you want to get a jump on it really early and say, okay, what is my situation here? How does this apply to me? And how can I use this to my advantage? Because you can use it to your advantage. And that's a fact, right? You definitely can use the way the system is set up to your advantage. But if you do not think about it, if you do not plan for it, if you do not find out about it, you lose the opportunity. And the opportunity once lost is hard, sometimes impossible to recover. As far as tax is concerned, once it's gone, it's gone. Next year, we'll try again. And if you let it pass again, next year, we'll try again. Maybe if you meet somebody like me, you may be opportune to claw back some of those losses. But it's more likely that when it's gone, it's gone. So I want to leave you with this. As a Nigerian immigrant seeking to establish yourself in another country, seeking to establish yourself in another jurisdiction, don't plan to find out how it works eventually. Plan to find out how it works, either before you get there or by the time you get there, because you will lose opportunity when you wait. So find out how taxation works. Find out what your obligations are. Find out what is required of you. Find out the opportunities that are available to you, because those opportunities are the things that make the difference between you having to shell out a whole bunch of cash versus you getting a check in the mail. But if you don't know, you don't know. And there's nothing you can do when you don't know. So back to who I am once again. My name is Ayomi Dotun Ayodele Bamishai. I run Dexteritas Professional Corporation. We're a full-service accounting firm out here in Calgary, Alberta, serving clients from coast to coast to coast in Canada. And this is what we do. So there will be some knowledge and information that we'll be sharing in the immediate future, sometime either the end of this month or first thing in November. And it will give you the opportunity to properly prepare yourself should this information be applicable to you. Particularly if you are one of those daddies that, you fly into Toronto twice a year, once for Christmas and then sometime during the summer, just spend a week or two and then you're back in Nigeria and that's that. Well, some of those tax problems that you have been hearing your friends have, that's what we solve for a living. And we'll be providing you information that will allow you to make decisions that will stand you in good stead in the near future. And that's really where I'm drawing attention to. So that course is going to be released. We will share the information when it's ready. But the goal is that we are better empowered. The goal is that we are better informed. The goal is that we are able and capable to plan appropriately, to put ourselves in a position where we are not deficient, where we don't feel like, the system has taken advantage of me. Rather, you are taking advantage of the system for your benefit. So That's pretty much what I have for you this evening. And if we have any questions, I think this is a good time for us to take them.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for that great exposition you have done. For those who want to understand the taxation system, and for those who want to travel out of Nigeria to. So, guys, if you have any question whatever for the two, please, this is a good time to ask your question. But all the same, I would like you to go follow him on his page and tag along as he keeps working on the course before it comes out. Dotun Ayodele is his name. So if you have any question, guys, please let me know. I know that this is not a topic that a lot of individuals who who don't like
They
tax.
don't know yet. Yet.
It's something that a lot of people don't want to really pay attention to, but until it hits. For example,
Yeah.
never really paid attention to the services of a lawyer until I began to fall into problems as a businessman.
Mm.
So it's important to have them at the beginning. Anyway, if there are no questions whatsoever, I want to say thank you to the two for this short but very great exposition. I mean, I understand the part that taxes play. Even over here in Nigeria, somebody's asking, Mazi is asking, what is the ratio of tax? And I don't know what that means. Mazi, fine, normal.
Oh, I think he's asking about tax rates.
Okay.
So, for example, your typical Nigerian tax rates for employees are somewhere in the 24% rate max out. In Canada, we are dealing with, depending on the province that you're in, because taxation is provincial, federal, and provincial. Depending on the province that you're in, you can be paying up to 48% of your income as taxes. Yeah, that it can be that high. So it's just for you to be aware of where you are at and what applies to the jurisdiction of your residency. Then you said someone wants to pay $300 a month for 12 hours a day. Okay, I don't get that one. Probably you want to elaborate on that, Mazi.
Yeah, I don't get that one too. Maybe he will elaborate on that. Okay. Are there other questions for our guests? Are there other questions? Okay, the two for now. I don't have plans yet to jump back from Nigeria as I'm still growing my.
Yeah, yeah. You have to grow your beard and your horns.
I'm still growing my businesses here in Nigeria for the meantime.
Yeah,
Until
yeah,
we are
yeah,
ready to send our kids over there, and then we'll be traveling and coming back.
yeah.
For now, the kids are still in secondary school. I believe that when they get to that stage, we need to send them out. We shouldn't. I'm not thinking about. I'm not second guessing that one for now.
Mm.
Yeah. So when they are up to that, I'm already planning in that direction for them to at least go over there and have a better life than what we are experiencing here. And so prearming yourself with the right knowledge is one thing that is very pertinent, and I'm glad for that. Thank you so much. So to everybody who tuned in today, please go ahead and follow the tune. And for those who are also traveling, who want to travel outside, it's better to arm yourself with the requisite knowledge that can help you to function and thrive. Not when you get there. Okay, he's asking, somebody wants to pay my brother $300 a month in Canada, and I was concerned about the taxation. $300 a month. What will you do? I doubt.
For what is the person's what is the person doing?
even house rent self cannot. I don't know where this person will be living.
Nah, the person is most likely no, it's not gonna work.
It's not going to work at
It's not
all.
gonna work. I can't see anywhere in Canada where that is going to
Do
um,
anything.
do anything. Even students do not earn that. Even minimum, nah, no, 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 do not do that. Do not do that. Hair barbing, no. That $300 can very easily be what he will make in maybe a day or two,
Hmm.
right? barbing by himself. So somebody taking him to $300 a month. Um, I'm sorry, but that's modern day slavery, to putting it mildly. Okay, Charles. Yes, so side hustle. You will pay taxes on everything. Eh?
Even recharge card self, they pay tax.
Even so, for example, Emeka, you're an author, right?
Yes.
You have all these books you've written, and those
Yes.
books are selling hot.
Yes.
Every year, right? Your publisher will cut you a check and send you a slip and say, "Oh, we cut you checks for X dollars this year." As they are sending you that slip, they are sending the CRA the same slip to say, "Hey, we cut Emeka a check, oh."
Wow.
So you can wait for your taxes,
Hmm.
right? Your employer will send you a slip. We paid you $100,000 this year, and we'll send the CRA $25,000 on your behalf. Then you will now go and tell the CRA, "Oh, I earned $100,000, oh, but if you do not put your publisher's own inside, you know the CRA already has that information. So they will come back to you and say, guy, you never complete now. Do better. So the way the system is set up, you have a side hustle. You can only keep it off the books for so long. Eventually, you want your side hustle to become a business. You go to the bank and say there's credit system, you want to lend. The bank will tell you, "Oh, can you show us the tax returns of this business for the last 3 years?" Your business becomes comatose simply because you can't get the financing that you need, because you have not been reporting the income, right?
Let me ask something. For those of us now who are in Nigeria and we have set up accounts that people we make money online, and then people pay into our accounts, and then it's directly transferred into our Nigerian accounts. So if I come to Canada now and I am also using this link, Paystack link, and I'm in Canada and people are paying and the money is going to my account in Nigeria, is it feasible? How do they track these things for taxation purposes?
So, for example, if that money is sent to, so you have a Paystack link, your entire infrastructure is in Nigeria,
Yeah.
right? But you are living in Canada. You are expected to declare that income. If you don't declare the income, the money sits in Nigeria. Yes.
Yeah.
However, one day is going to come, and you're going to say, "You know what? I want to buy a house." Because your money is in Nigeria, your money they breathe, they provoke. Say, Emeka, you not be spend at the vest. Right? Your money will just come and say you need to spend, and you say, "I'm in Canada now. Why can't I spend it here?" And then you do one transaction, and the question will now be, "Okay, where did all this money come from?" Right? So you suddenly go to your bank and you tell them you want to buy $1 million house because you have all this cash and you want a mortgage, and you give them 200K down payment, and you've been filing zero income for the last 5 years. The question is going to be, okay, if you're a permanent resident and you have no income, where did 200K come from? How
What
are
if
you?
what if you say that they are giving to you in Nigeria by your by
finish
your
by your
uncle?
is it the one that is going to pay the remaining 800? So eventually, when you don't declare your income, you end up cutting yourself short. If you're going to thrive in this environment, you're going to report your business, because unless that business is never going to grow, unless that business is going to remain as is, that kind of thing. But if you're the kind of person like you, progressive, looking to, really upscale and change things, you have no choice, because you want to buy a house because madam is on your neck. You can't buy the house because the money is somewhere breathing. And you are trying to let it not come out, but the thing is provoking you to bring it out. So eventually you have to say something. Right? So those are some of the factors.
That's great. So somebody's asking, what if the business are you under obligation to to, for example, if I have businesses here in Nigeria,
Yes,
and my
yes.
business is thriving, I have a system here, my staff and all those people here, and the business is running, and I'm there. Let's say I'm declaring taxes there, let's say $1,000 a month. And because my business has profits in Nigeria and I want to do something quite, quite huge, is there any need reporting to them how much I'm making in Nigeria when my business system are in Nigeria and I can travel back and forth?
So if the way the system is set up, right? The system is not is set up to resist money coming in without reporting. So you just
Hmm.
wake up as a Nigerian company just sends money to Canada. Okay, for what? Why is a Nigerian money sending why is a Nigerian company sending money to Canada if there is no business operation in Canada?
Hmm.
Then you create this Canadian subsidiary. Oh, there's now a Canadian company. Okay. That Canadian company must report something.
Hmm.
Do you get? So it's either you are going to report it. So there's no requirement. So let me be clear. You have your businesses in Nigeria thriving, doing well. Those businesses have no ties to Canada. So there's nothing for them to report. But you are living in Canada as a resident, right? So if you draw income, that's always the thing. If you say you earn income from your Nigerian companies, then whatever it is that you are earning as income from your Nigerian companies, you
Must
have
be
to
reported.
declare and pay taxes on.
Great. Now it's understandable.
Do you get? So that's one route. Another route is create a Canadian company and then create business for that company through your Nigerian company. And that way you are able to keep your activities in Canada at the level you want it without overly exposing yourself.
Hmm.
Do you get? But
Yes.
to say that, oh, you are just going to be taking money from Nigeria, spending and living in Canada, and you will not pay any taxes. One day, you will try something.
That's great. Thank you so much. I mean, it's good to always learn. I'm always on the side of the law, actually. I like to be on the side of the law. That's why I'm asking these questions so that people can
Yes.
understand. Trying to sidetrack it doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't work for you. As much as you think you are doing it, it keeps you small. You
Yes.
can't grow. You can't become more. And there's nothing like, you have a presence in Canada. You have a presence in Canada for your Nigerian business. Getting into the States, suddenly you find out that it's easy. Getting to UK suddenly is easy. But if not just Nigeria, you keep everything. The green passport factor will come. It will eventually show up.
Hmm.
Right. So it's just food for thought, really. And that's
Yeah,
really why we're having this conversation. Just things for people to think about and say, hey, does this make sense?
I get you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for this time out we've had on this conversation. Guys, please go and follow him. We are about to wrap up this in the next 2-3 minutes. Thank you. Any final words for us to two as we call it a wrap for tonight?
Okay, so I'm gonna do the whole 9 yards. My name is Ayomido Ayodele Bamshai. I run Dexteritas Professional Corporation in Calgary, Alberta. We serve clients providing accounting, tax, and consulting services from coast to coast to coast. We support companies, we support individuals, we support not-for-profits. And our goal is simple. The more you know, the more you can take advantage of. Set yourself up. I think that's the right way to put it. The more you can set yourself up to succeed, our goal is to see you succeed. So if you have anything that it bothers you, either in the tax space, the accounting space, Canadian tax in particular, yes, definitely you can reach out to me. But in addition to that, sometime before the end of the month, early next month, we will be launching a course, fundamentals of Canadian taxation, basics of Canadian taxation. And the essence is to ensure that people like you who are listening to this, that have people in Canada or that are thinking of coming to Canada or that have sent your wife and children to Canada and you're thinking about, these CRA people will soon call me again. We've created a simple course that will ensure that for less than the cost of an hour of my time as a CPA, you're able to arm yourself with sufficient information. And then you come to me with only the complex questions. You won't be asking me about how you earn income, or what adjustments are available for you to take, what credits or deductions you won't be asking me those questions. The questions you'll be asking will be informed, structured, solid questions. So once that drops, we'll be putting that out there for you so that you can educate yourself properly and plan. Because guess what? It's nothing certain like death or taxes. Taxes will be here. They ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Thank you very much, Chifo.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Datu. Good to have you on this session. God bless you, and goodbye to everyone.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.